Hello again. We are seeing increasing mention by Muslims, not only in Britain but also in Germany and France, for aspects of Sharia law to be incorporated into the legal system of those Western European nations. The ultimate wish of these activists is, of course, for the law to be altogether Islamic and for every country on earth to be under the rule of Sharia. This is completely logical, and although I don't happen to think it a good idea, I fully understand the motives behind these demands. All human law is imperfect, of course, and I disagree with many of the laws in Britain and think them muddle-headed and wrong. This is because they've been made by fallible men and women. Sometimes, as in Germany at the time of the Third Reich, laws were passed which were actively wicked, and I do not believe that people had any duty at all to obey them. Man-made laws suffer from defects in this way. A lot of people, I'm one of them, think that there are eternal principles, God-given precepts, if you will, that our laws should follow. Laws against cruelty and theft, murder and rape are, to my mind, manifestly necessary and just. We should be inspired by those principles. For Muslims, though, the case is a little different because they believe that the Lord actually dictated specific requirements of laws on earth to the Prophet, and that these can be the only correct laws because they were actually given directly by God to Muhammad. That's why the laws found in the Quran and the Hadith are absolutely cast iron, solid, and right. Christians and Jews believe something a bit similar, of course, with the Ten Commandments, that these were given directly by God to Moses. That's why we have laws in Britain, by the way, against theft and murder. Sharia law, though, covers a good deal more than just 10 commandments. Various Muslim jurists have gathered together and codified the laws into a system which they claim is the only possible basis for human law, because it is God's law rather than laws made by men and women. This is perfectly logical, and if once you accept that the Lord spoke directly to the Prophet and dictated to him the Quran, then I can see where you'd feel that this was the only possible source for any properly run legal system anywhere in the world. After all, if I think, as I do, that the Lord requires me to be charitable, then any human law which forbids me to give to charity, to restrain myself from giving money to beggars, must be wrong and must be disobeyed. Incredibly, this actually happened in this country a few years ago. I was on the district line in London heading to Kew Gardens when some Eastern European woman came through the carriage begging. I gave her a couple of pounds, whereupon two men suddenly announced themselves as plainclothes police officers and ordered her to return the money to me. There had been so much begging on that part of the underground that they were staging an operation to crack down on it. I said I didn't want the money back. At this point, they told me that I've actually been committing an offence myself, giving money to a beggar. I forget what the actual crime was. It was aiding and abetting or something. I laughed, and after a few ill-tempered words from the officer, he turned to his colleague and said, "Right, book him, Joe." Whereupon my name and address was taken with a view to prosecuting me. They must have thought better of it because I heard nothing more. But that's an example of what I mean when I say that I would rather follow God's law than man's. Any law like that which says that I can't give money to a beggar must, from my point of view, be a wrong law, an incorrect law, one which I have a moral duty to disobey. All of which means that I can well understand the Islamists who feel that Sharia law should be the only legal system in the world. But I don't happen to believe that God has actually laid down detailed instructions in that way in the Quran. I believe instead in certain principles which have been built into us, which is where we get our consciences from.